here. Well, welcome, Jeremy Brown. How are you today?
Hey, Teresa, I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I am just so excited to have you on. I've heard so much about you. We connected and doing a writers conference with Chris Tracy, and now you're going to be speaking with Kevin just about what we're launching, guys. We are launching
Mhm.
Create Publishing, which is just so exciting. It's such great news. But Jeremy will be the backbone behind this in helping people's books not only get published, but how to take them into a place where there could be marketing skills, there could be other stuff that you could add on to who they are. But Jeremy, we are doing a workshop coming up this Saturday. And from your estimation, why is it important for people to take one day and then really hone in on their desire to write?
Yeah, I think these events can be, I think it's first off, I think it's a great event. I can't wait when I saw the lineup. I mean, that's part of the plan is you got to be around people who have been there, done that, and are looking back now and can speak to you from where they're at because you are where they were. You have to be around people like that. And then I think it takes you can focus in on your writing, on your book, and then clear the way after that. Then you can quit learning, you can quit reading about how to write, you can quit doing all the things, and you can just go write and make sure you're around the right people and start writing. So I think that it can be a jolt of momentum if you've been spending this whole year and you're like, this was going to be the year I'm going to write my book, and I don't have it done yet, or I haven't even gotten around to it, or life got in the way, or whatever it is. This can be the time for you to redeem all the time that you maybe feel like you wasted earlier this year and just do it. There's still enough time to get a book done this year. If you want to write a book, there's still enough time to do it this year. And if you can get it written this year, it's going to totally change 2024.
Oh, big time. I totally agree. And even getting the outline done, it's like there's so many steps that we could help you through. I love the fact that like you're going to be with people like Paul Young, who he wrote the book The Shack that became such a famous movie that we all love, The Shack, and what
Yeah.
his journey is and why he wrote that book. He wrote that book because he wanted to leave a legacy for his family. He had no idea that it would go so viral. But
Hmm.
he shares his journey
Beautiful.
in his Q&A there too. And Chris Tracy, who is a good friend of yours and is on Create Academy, I mean, she's helped like 4 or 5 writers in Create Academy publish their book just last year.
Oh
And so
yeah.
our dream is like whatever you have a heart to do, whether it's blogging, whether it's like short stories, whether it's poetry, whether it's a genre of writing a book that's instructional for Christians, or things that you feel like, man, I've always wanted to write a devotional. We're here to help your dreams succeed. So check it out. The team will put on the link, teresadedmon.com. Check it out. And the thing about it is only $49, all fully recorded. So whatever
That's
you do,
awesome.
and you can hear more from Jeremy as well, and from our team. But we just want to see you thrive and grow at whatever level your writing is at, because this is what it's all about. We are here to help you grow and to help you succeed. But a couple things we wanted people to get to know you a little bit, Jeremy. So people think, and I know I can see you out there thinking this. And by the way, put your name in the chat. If you have any questions for Jeremy, put that in the chat. We want to get to know you. I love returns, people that are coming back too. And if you are new, we'd love to hear
Right.
from you as well. But people don't just wake up one day and go, yep, I'm a writer. So you've worked with all different types of writers, thousands of things that you've been able to help people publish and write. How do writers emerge, and how is writing more of a process than a destination? And how do we help people find and take responsibility to even start on their journey?
Yeah, I think so. If I were to break that down, where do we start? I think everybody, and I do think that's why this weekend's event can be so powerful because it's it may be a little cliche to say, but it really is true. Like it starts with you just making an absolute decision. So I think that's why these big events are very powerful because you can make big decisions at events like this. And it's where I heard a quote once, and I forget the person who said it, but he said, people ask me if I write when I'm inspired or if I write on a schedule. And he goes, I write when I'm on a schedule. It just so happens that every morning at 9 a.m. I get inspired. So and
Exactly.
so that's where you can
Yes.
figure out your rhythm. Every writer has a different rhythm. You're going to have a different rhythm than Paul Young. You're going to have a different rhythm than Chris Tracy or Kevin or Teresa. But it's good to hear about what their rhythms are and how they do their thing so you can make it your own. Because I'm somebody who says 4 hours, theory of constraints. This book's getting written in 4 hours. And then I just hammer through it. I have other writers who say, I'm going to give this 15 minutes a day, my first 15 minutes of the day for the next 90 days and everything in between. So I think that's how you learn is you just start writing and you see what works for you and you switch up environments, you switch up music, you switch up the food you eat, the things that you drink, you experiment with all kinds of things, and then you're going to find your rhythm and you can just roll with it and you can get a whole book done once you know your rhythm. And it doesn't have to be super duper difficult. If you've got the rhythm, but you got to have the team around you, the people, everybody in Create Academy, having the right people around you, that's how you get going in the process of writing. So I think, Teresa, it's like, how do you begin and how do you start the process of writing? I think it's like throw away anything you're thinking about a process just for a minute. And you could practice this on Saturday, even. I'm throwing away all the stuff that I thought, because if I don't have my book done and I've wanted to do it, the stuff I thought was going to work isn't working. So say, okay, it's not working. Cool. And then you say, I'm going to experiment with a bunch of different things in a bunch of different ways, see what works, and then roll with what works until it doesn't work anymore. And then do that over again.
I love that. I love the practicality that it's like there's always a way if we choose to find it, but taking that responsibility to
Mhm.
go, okay, I'm gonna do that. I mean, that is why this workshop is so vital, so important. And the 6 week intensive that follows, where people get 50% off by just being in the workshop to that. But there is something that happens when we say, okay, I am going to put something on that computer every day or
Mhm.
for 4 hours or whatever it is. Something happens and shifts in our thinking. And then when we know we have a community like Create Academy that's fighting for us too, like we're not out there by ourselves trying to write something, but we have a community of people that can help us as coaches, can help us in the things that we're doing. It just makes it feel like, I can do this. And that's
Yes,
something about writing that's different from a lot of the different creative expressions. Writing has to happen in a place where you're in solitude, where you're alone, or where you've taken space to create. And so one of the things that is so helpful is to realize that if other people get their hands on what you create and you don't hold it so close that
Mhm.
I don't want this baby to be touched, right? But when you like let others see it and they see it from different perspectives, it just adds so much more to your writing experience, but also it gains a powerful way that we understand
That's right.
who we are as a writer. I can't ever, I could never understand myself as a writer if I just wrote and I didn't share it with anybody. But
That's
when I
right.
share it, then people go, "Oh, Teresa, you're always doing this. You're different. You're a different writer because of that." And that's what you'll find in Create Academy and in Create Publishing. We want to find out your lane, who you are uniquely as a writer.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head too. How do you want because you put a book out today, in 2 years from now, you're going to go, oh, wow. Okay. Like this has expanded so much. I would say this differently. That's the nature of it. And if you don't feel that way, you maybe aren't growing as much as you should. And it's not that you're going to think the book is bad, but it's about getting the push to get that book out there, knowing you're going to be growing. And how do you keep creating and refining and expanding the concepts and getting better and deeper? You give it away. You just start giving it away. And that's the big secret of marketing your material as well, Teresa, is being able to get on. If somebody's in ministry, they say, what's the best way for me to market my book? I say, go do ministry. Show up on Facebook Live, start doing ministry. Go walk the streets of your town. Just go start doing ministry. Don't worry about, are they going to buy my book? Am I giving away the farm? You can't give away the farm. There is really no farm. Everybody's got a farm. And so you don't have to worry about giving it all away. The more you give, it's just going to create, people are just going to want to know, I want to know more. What else is this author up to? Where are they going to be next? What books do they have now? The more you're just out there being generous and just doing your thing. That's how you market a book really effectively. You just do your thing with people and you just give it away. And I would say that's how I got refined in the publishing industry is I would just meet with any author. Any author would call, hey, I've got a book idea. It's about 600 pages. It's about the rapture. Okay, that sounds kind of crazy, but let's talk, man. Or my grandma wrote a book about her cat. Okay, great. And I would just help them. And I would say, I'm going to sit down with you for an hour. I'm going to give you everything I got. So bring everything you have to me. And I'm just going to give it to you. We'll figure out if we're going to work together or not. All that's fine by me anyway. And I just gave it to them. And I've been doing that for 15 years now. And it's how you refine yourself and your ideas and your concepts and what you communicate and know your value and all of that. So I think every author should do that. And it really is the litmus test for me when an author comes to the table and says, hey, I want to write a book about this, and it's for this audience. I say, how much of your time is spent face to face, eyeball to eyeball with that audience? And if it's not very much, I don't encourage them to write the book yet because they need to be face to face, toe to toe with their audience so they know what their audience needs, what their audience wants, what their audience doesn't even know they need. And that's how you create a great book that people will pick up and go, this author is in my head. They're reading my mail. This is what I've been looking for.
Oh, I love that. I have to say, like, that's just genius, because so many times we try and put the cart before the horse. Like, we want to create it without knowing really what the audience likes.
Yes,
It's like trying to give filet mignon to a tribal country that doesn't eat meat. Like, it might be the best filet mignon, but for that type of person, they can't relate to it.
that's right.
And I really think that that's the nail on the head. Like, if you guys want to write children's books, you need to share your story with at the library or other places where
That's
there's
right.
children. You need to find out, well, how do they respond, and get some input from them. I think getting input is so vital in writing a book. I know for me, when I wrote Created to Overcome, and I would do 40-day challenges in poetry to build that up, but I would constantly be talking to my Create Academy students about my or my Bethel students about the poems that I was writing, and they would go, oh my gosh, Teresa, I love that one. Or I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't get as much of a response with when I go, oh, I think I know why. And so that just helps you to become such a
Yes.
great writer, and that's so vital. That's so important. One of the key factors in writing a successful book is honing in on your message. How do you do that for people who are all over the place? I know that I
Mm-hmm.
want to write this, but I'm not quite sure of this theme or what the subject matter should be or whatever. How do you help them
Yes.
hone in on their message?
Yeah, it's a great question. And that's where a lot of authors start is they're saying, I have 15 ideas. I have enough content and ideas and stories to fill up 10 books, and I can't even seem to get a single page done yet. And so if you're feeling that way of where do I start, that's where everybody starts, and that's totally good. So I think there's a number of things, and here's where we start to put people through filters. So we have something called the burn process. And burn process works in the sense that if you throw a bunch of materials into a fire, only the things of lasting value withstand the flames. You're going to have diamonds, gold, and steel. And that's what you want to do initially with your story. You want to burn it, you want to run it through a process so that you can find the things of lasting value, the diamonds that display beauty through testimony, that steel that gives strength to other people, and the gold that is valuable for others, they'll pay you to get it. And that's how we do the burn process and think about it that way. And so the number one thing, how do you hone on this? You cannot do this alone. I'm working on my next book right now, and I'm going to have somebody looking in on my story, my ideas, and my concepts to help me burn through the stuff that's I'm emotionally attached to, but it's not relevant to my readers. and they help me retain a vigilant focus on the needs of my audience. And so this is a self-sacrificing thing when you're trying to write a book, because it's not about how so think about this. And this, I don't do things as normal publishers do, and I've made a living doing it this way. So hang on for a second. I don't care about how skilled somebody is at actual writing. I want to know how relevant they are to their audience, because their audience doesn't care probably to sit down and read an eloquent message. They just want to get what they need to get. They're at the well. I need something. I want some water. I want something to drink. Just give it to me, man, or whatever it is. So it's relevance to that audience's situation. So where do you start? How do you hone it in? You first start by looking at your own personal testimony with the topic you want to talk about. What is your testimony there? And speak that out to someone to have them bear witness to it so they can help you eliminate some of the stuff that doesn't need to be in there and help you identify things that you don't think are very important that are really important. Start with your story. You can identify your greatest assets through that. Next thing is your audience. Now say, who am I trying to reach? And get really clear about that. It's not just about this kind of a general people group, but what are their problems? What are their problems your book is going to help them solve? And what are the words they use to describe their problems? That's why you got to be in front of your people all the time. Like I wrote a book for young men who grew up without dads or rocky relationships with their fathers. And I spoke their language, man. I was with them every day. I had a ministry for those guys. You couldn't see me in my town without having a couple of really messed up young dudes with me that were trying to figure out life. And we were just doing life together. And that helped me write a book that they felt like was speaking right to them, because I was with them all the time. And I would kind of put on a different hat when I was with them because they spoke a different language. And so your story, your audience, and then you got to know goals. What are your goals and what are your readers' goals? So here are your goals, and it's okay to be selfish here to say, this is what I need to get out of this to make it worth it for me, to make the investment worth it, the time worth it, to make all the things I'm going to say no to worth it. Here are my goals, and then here are my readers' goals. When they're done with this book, I want them to be able to do these things. And you know their goals. And then once you know your goals, you know your readers' goals, you know your story, you know you've burnt some things up, so to speak, in your story, then you can say, okay, based on all that, what can I teach them? What can I teach them now that they need right now? And that's how you narrow down your book, because you have 50 things you can teach them. What do they need right now? So, and the last thing I'll say about that, it's about time, timing, and the times. Time is, what do you have time for right now? Like, what do you have time for? Is it today? Is it this weekend, Saturday? Is it next month? What do you have time for? Timing is this the right time? And is this the right season for you to be doing this in the season of life? And then the times is, what are the people needing right now? What do they need right now? What they need today is different than what they needed in 2018. So what are the times? And that's how you can really take a ton of material from your life and hone it in. And you can write a book that's very powerful in 100 pages that's just as impactful as a 400-page book that the writer just kind of wrote until they found their way. And that doesn't always work that way. Some people can do that, but that's not always the way it works. So that's how I would hone in on a message.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that thing that you talked about of, you have to know your story, you have to know your audience, and you have to know your goals. You have to be able to flesh it out and what's relevant to the people that are around you. All of that is this thing called synergy. I mean, I could see like C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, I mean, talking about their readers and talking about the vision of what they had for each of them. And they wrote timeless classics that we
Yeah.
still love and still get complete, like I would say, a new understanding of kingdom concepts. And I love
Yeah.
how when you write something with a kingdom concept that's not just just geared for like something that is going to go out, but something that's going to continue to resonate with every audience, that's when you find the gold. But you have to do a lot of writing to get to that point where you feel that way, and that's where coaches can help you, people that have
Mhm.
walked through this journey, like Jeremy, Chris Tracy, and others. That's what we want for
Right.
you. We want you to not feel like it's unattainable, but that it really is relevant. And I love that last thing. It's how much time do you have, and taking that and really honing in on that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
One,
And
go ahead.
I was going to say one thing about coaching and everything too. It's like when I buy a tree that's 2 years old and I can uproot that and plant that in my backyard, what I have bought is time. And I think that's when you have a good coach and you have somebody who's really skilled to come alongside you, you're buying a bunch of time and you can get far ahead, just like me planting the seed of an apple tree or going and buying a 2-year-old apple tree and then and having somebody position it in my yard. I just bought a bunch of time and that was very valuable. I think that's what you do with a coach.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. I love all the people that are on. Thanks guys for joining. Matt's on, other people are on. It's so great, guys. Chris Tracy is on. Chris, well, I'm so glad you're on. Please comment. Chris will be one of our speakers. Comment on what you want to see happen. Brittany loves my painting. Yeah, this is called overflow. You know, the thing about art, the thing about reading the Times is you have to become a visual writer. And part of the beauty is not just in saying, well, that's a beautiful painting, right? But saying, well, no, this is about the overflow of our hands, all different types of hands reaching out to the fountain of life, the fountain of joy, the fountain of God's presence, and being released in it, and how refreshing it is. And that overflow comes on to not just me, but into everybody. And that's the beauty of writing. It not only flows to the person who's reading it, but it can flow to so many different people and reach them in a different point because they're in a different place within their life, which is the beauty of writing, the beauty of art,
That's
the
right.
beauty of what we're creating. But I want to go back to this. I want to go back to this thing because I feel like a lot of people, and I know this is me, Jeremy, but this might be you too. But there's something about learning to co-create with God. It's like we're not, you know, create publishing isn't just about you learning to write a great book on your own. That's great, and we're glad that you can do that. But we really have a heart to learn to co-create with God, so that He is a person that's also asked to come into I would say, into the writing process with us, to hear His voice, and to do that. And that's all part of something that is that the spiritual realm coming into the natural, the heaven
Right.
invading earth. And Jeremy, talk about, because you're involved in this process, talk about how you help a writer to develop their sense of hearing from God and being with God in the process of writing.
Mm. Yeah, so I think there's the processing piece and then there's the writing piece, and I think they're two different things. And so what I first started to do with folks is because we had a big problem in our business in like 2017, and we were like, we're writing books twice, or we're getting paid once. This is a problem. But what we
Mm.
loved about it was we were writing books twice because we were like, when we really walk people well through their story and their book and what they want to do, about halfway through the process, they have this big awakening moment where they go, actually, I need to do a whole other thing now. And we were like, that is amazing. But now we've got to go write a whole other book. And so we're like, how do we give them that experience on the front end? And so that's where Burn came from. And this is where we process things out. So the first thing I would do, if somebody said, I'm ready to do this, I'm feeling the prompting from the Lord. Personally, what I like to do is say, get out of your current environment and sneak away for a day and spend the day with somebody listening in and hearing and helping you sort through your ideas and your concepts. You can do this with a friend. You can do this with a coach. You can do this with whoever. I think you need to have somebody else in it with you. Separate from your environment, go away somewhere for a little bit of time to where you just completely focus on your book and really saying, Lord, I'm here. I'm pressing into you. I'm open. I'm surrendering this thing to you. And I'm going to sift through it. And then you just start taking steps down that road. You don't have to have an angel appear before you or anything to do this. It's like as you get into it and as you're walking, and it's just a dance with him. So I think a way to fast track it is separate from your environment, go to a whole new place, and allocate a good chunk of time, better part of a day, to really diving in and sifting, like sinking in and settling into your book idea. And even better if you're with a coach. And I do think that's the opportunity this Saturday, and that's kind of the invitation, is to do that. But I think you can
Mhm.
do that. That's how I start. And it's a dance with the Lord, and every writer looks a lot different because you never know what he's going to do. He's a wild man too. And so you never quite know where he's going to bring you, but it's better than you could have done it on your own, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I love I call it, Jeremy, divine interruptions. It's something to where, when you kind of let your let your um let your mind or your imagination ruminate. I think it's in a rumination imagination thing. When you let that go, and then he can interrupt you, whether you're watching a movie, or whether you're playing with your kids, or you're doing something, all of a sudden you go, oh, that is something that I need to catch and write or put into my book, or those divine interruptions of somebody calling you and then sharing, hey, remember that story? And all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, that would be great. So it's kind of,
Yeah,
to me, I look at it more as like not only like a dance, but also as a way where I don't commit to everything the way that I want it to, but I'm open to suggestion from God. And
good.
again, like what you talked about, I mean, I think it's different for every person and how God's wired us to have a relationship with him. But having that time just means like I'm not holding my baby too close. I'm not holding my
Yes.
concepts too close. And I think that's where I feel like when I help people with their writing, a lot of them hold it so close that nobody can really see the baby,
Hmm.
or say, hey, you know what, that baby needs to be changed, or that baby needs to be bathed, or it's like, and I think that's the process of trust with God
Yes.
and with others that creates a greater, I think, success than just doing it on your own, trying to work it out and etc. So we really want to help you in that process, and you'll learn that at the workshop.
And I
But
think too, just to give them a jolt, though, I think it's so good to set aside a good day and just be like, I'm dedicating this whole day to this, and then I'm really serious now. And it's not just a thing, or I'm going to do it. It's like I'm spending this whole day saying no to family. I'm saying no to events. I'm saying no to whatever it is. And I'm putting a full day into this thing to get me a good start and make sure that I got some momentum coming out of it. I think and if you got to travel somewhere, do it. Like if you're going to attend on Saturday, don't just, I'm maybe challenge a few people, like don't just do it in your office regularly. Go drive like an hour somewhere in a coffee shop somewhere that you've never been to, and do that for a little bit and see what might happen. Because you're saying to yourself, this is not same old anymore. This is not just let me try it again and see if it works. And unlike last 10 times I've tried it, because we've all been there too. But it's like this is a whole new deal, whole new ball game. I'm separating from my current situation, from my comfort, and I'm going to go out and kind of, this will be the first day of this pilgrimage of writing this book.
I love that. I think it's taking yourself seriously, and it's having that time and that space to let go and
Hmm.
not care because the kids are screaming or somebody's calling you. It's like you have to put the phone on airplane mode. There's certain things that you have to do which only you know, that are going to separate you from other voices that would tempt you
Yeah.
not to be present. I think that's so huge, and really that's your time to allow God to speak to you as well in that
Yeah.
process.
Well, I think one more quick thought, Teresa, is like we
Yeah.
always, when I'm sitting with somebody for the first time and they're like, I want to write this book for well, and in this, I'm like, well, I ask them, how important is this to you right now? And just be really real with that of like what what level is this a priority for me right now? Because if it's just not a priority yet, if it's not an 8 or above, put it off and don't even think about it anymore, because it's just eating up space in your mind, and it's gonna erode your psyche and your confidence, because you have something that you say is very important, but you're not doing anything about it yet, or you're not doing what you really want to do with it. You got to reconcile that. How important is this to me right now? And if it's not an 8 or above, that's no problem. It's for next year. So revisit it after the first of the year. and come back to it and now get it out of your mind for now and just say that it's not for this season right now. And if it is an 8 or above, go, what am I going to do with that then? And I need to do something with it. And I need to get serious about it because I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm not going to do that to my mentality of having something I say that I really value and it's really important and not doing what I know I should do with it or what I want to do with it.
I love that. I think that's so powerful. I think that I don't know whoever is listening, and share this with other people too, but look at your life and think about, like, if you took time even this Saturday just to spend with the Lord, and then if you followed up with another time when you're just getting the content in, and now you're going to be able to digest some of the stuff that we just talked about, just think about how your life would change if you just did that. Like, these are two simple asks. They're not big asks, but they're things that can create a huge ripple effect on how you grow as a writer and where God has you. So just really listen to that.
Yeah.
Matt has a question for us. Matt said,
All right.
love it, Matt. Thanks for joining. He says, wants to know if you have stories on how you found your voice.
Oh, you find your voice. That's great. I would say you find your voice by using it every opportunity you get. And so, like, if a writer is trying to find their voice, I would start doing what you already did. I think you already kind of covered that one, Teresa, of like just start writing and then start giving it out there. Start giving it to people, giving it away, see what reacts to them. And also, writing is completely, being an author is completely about your people and your audience. And so I think it's more forget about your voice and focus on your audience. And you're going to find your voice as you're serving people. Greatest part of my whole life, I got saved big time. When I say I got saved, I literally got saved. My wife and I both, and literally saved. And um, I had always been like, man, here's this big vision and this big idea and all this and that. And then I said, when I got saved, I was like, okay, I am not going to set any goals. I'm not going to have a vision for my life. I'm going to do the bare minimum I need to do to pay the bills. And every spare second I have is going to be dedicated to knowing who God is, why he made me, and what he wants to do with me. And I said, Lord, anything you send my way, I am going to just do it. So any service opportunities that came my way, I did it. People thought I worked at multiple churches in town. I knew the homeless community in my town, where everybody in that community, everybody knows everybody. I knew when people left, I knew when people came in. I was always there. I didn't smoke, but I was handing out cigarettes at the homeless shelters because that's what got them talking to me all day long. And by just serving people, it was the most transformative and formative time of my entire life. I've never had to wonder about what is my purpose since that year and a half or so that I did that. I think if you're wanting to find your voice as a writer, it's about finding your people and just stepping up for any and all opportunities you have to speak into people, to serve people through your writing and through your skills and through what you want to teach or what you want to train. And you'll figure it out from there. And the Lord will really show up to you and he'll really honor that willingness because that's what you're really doing, saying, I'm willing and I'm game for anything. As long as you're leading me, Lord, I'm down for whatever it is. And that's, I think, how you find your voice is you forget about it and you just start serving your people and figuring out who are going to be your people.
So good. Yeah. I mean, that's such a good point. I mean, I'll never forget, like, I mean, my book Born to Create came out of really ministering to people, and just seeing so many people get touched that were so blocked from creating in any sphere, whether it was writing a book or whether it was cooking or whether it was like gardening or art or dance or writing. They felt so, I would say, performance driven, that they were trying to work for love rather than from love. And so in that context, like, as I began to just share with them about how much God has created them to create with him as a child, and began to take risks and then to give it away, like you talked about, I just saw these miracles fly off everywhere. And I'm going, ooh, like, I don't think anybody is seeing this. And so, Jeremy, I really, it was God knocking on my heart saying, Theresa, you have to tell this story,
Yeah,
because nobody else is seeing it. You need to write it. I mean, you have more testimonies than you know what to do with. So
that's
create
right.
something from that. And I had to face my inner, I think demon that I had at that point in my life was I wasn't good enough. I mean, I had Chris Valentin, who wrote the royalty book. Bill Johnson had just finished Dreaming with God. Kevin had just finished The Ultimate Treasure Hunt. And I thought, well, who am I? Like, I don't have a degree in writing. I mean, and so what I did is I did exactly what you said. I had to remember my audience. I had to remember, if I do not share, nobody will know. And so I
Hmm.
had to say to myself, I don't care how, like, how abstract it is at first or what. I just have to get it out and then have an editor help me
There
to
you go.
flesh it out. And when I did that, it was like, oh, that's what I needed. And so part of, can I just speak to some people out there? Part of your problem, guys, is that you think that you have to have everything to become a writer. You don't.
There we go.
You don't have to be good at grammar. You don't have to
Yes,
be good at syntax. You don't have to be good at spelling. All that you have to do is have a great story and help somebody
that's
flesh it out
right.
with you. And
Yep.
so I just wanna just like piggyback on what
So
you
good.
say. Like the audience is everything. Audience is
Yeah.
everything.
Well, and you hit on something really important. Your job as the author is just to produce the draft and then have a team do everything else. You just need to get to a rough draft. That's
Yeah.
it. Not a finished manuscript or a book, just a rough draft. That's it.
Yeah.
And the
Uh,
editors do the work from there. That's absolutely true.
it's so true. It's like, guys, I want to see you on Saturday. But we're now starting create publishing with Jeremy, and we're just so excited for this adventure. And share about, like, in your estimation, the things that are going on in a person's life that are counterintuitive. Like, and I just want to speak to what I'm talking about right now and let you answer this. But there's things that are counterintuitive to a dream, and part of that is that we think that we have to have everything together at first, like we talked about. We think that we have to be everything we have to be the driver, we have to be the person who does the GPS, does this that. And but speak to, like, how God molds us, and why we come with this rough draft. Why is that important, that we just show up? Because part of my, I think, desire is for people just to show up and let God lead them into this dance of writing. And so speak about that a little bit, because you take writers from the start to the finish. You've done so much, and I know, Chris Tracy, you have too. But share a little bit about the process that you've taken people that have these ideas but they don't know where to start.
Yeah, I think that the overall process and how you go from an idea to a book, it really has just four main parts. The first part's the blueprint, and this is where um, if you're going to build a building, you have to build a blueprint first. And this is the part a lot of people skip or don't dive into deeply enough that can just be a game changer for you. If I'm building a blueprint for a building, I can much more easily say, what would it be like if we just added four stories instead of three? Or how about if we just like put the bathrooms like over here? If we're already building and we're in construction, I can't do that anymore because it's going to make the building not look as good. And so you got to make a blueprint first. The blueprint lets you know, how long should this take? What's the budget I need to have for this? Who do I need? And then most importantly, what is the plan the team is going to follow so that my vision gets done by great talented people and not their vision? And so it helps you lead the team. Your job as an author is really leadership first. You're leading the team of people, and you are responsible for being the leader and the steward of your story in your book. So you do that by presenting a good plan and communicating it clearly to your team, so then they can see your vision and then bring their talent to the table for you. So that's the blueprint. Very important. Next part is just writing. And people can write in a couple different ways. You can just write on your own, go away somewhere, however you do it, write it. And then when you're done, then you come back. But you've got to write it. You can write with a coach like Chris Tracy. I really encourage people to at least have a coach helping them write. You'll get it done a lot faster. Or you write with a ghostwriter. And a ghostwriter is somebody who you bring the spoken word, they produce the written word. And so that's what a ghostwriting relationship looks like. So that's writing, number two. Then the third thing is design. And I think about it more than just a cover design. It's packaging of your book. Presentation is everything. It's the curb appeal to your product. So front cover, spine, back cover, internal layout. You have to have a brand architecture and an architecture approach to how your book's going to present to your audience so that they are drawn to it and they get it. There's not like five ideas on a book cover. There's one idea that speaks to them. And so you have blueprint, you have writing, you have design, and then you have launching. And this is where you finalize everything, you proof it again, you maybe proof it a third time, and you find three things that you didn't see before, and you put all the finishing touches, you get it printed, and you launch. And we always make sure everybody gets to be an Amazon bestseller with their book. It's not going to change your life to be an Amazon bestseller, but you're going to be able to have it on your bio for the rest of your career. So you don't want to not get to an Amazon bestseller. And I think we might be close to a decade where we've published every book we've published with our hands on it has become a bestseller. The only one I know about is my own. And so I published a book. It did become a bestseller, but I didn't do my own process. So I'm the only one. And but I think we're probably coming close to a decade where we've done every book has been a bestseller for pretty close to that. And so it's about understanding Amazon, that algorithm that they have, those robots that run that thing, and just knowing how to use the system. I don't like the system, so I just use it. And I think we got to know who our enemies are, and we have to know who our allies are. So, like, my son is 19. I have four boys, our fifth's on the way, and I teach them that phone is your enemy. It is not your friend. It is not made by people who have your best interests in mind, but you can use your enemy and you can use evil for good. That's what God does. That's what you can do. But you got to know it's your enemy. You got to know how to use it. So I see things like Amazon and these things as they're not my friend. I don't like the system, but I'm going to use the system for what it's usable for. And so that's what we do. And we make people bestsellers on Amazon. And so you have a blueprint phase, you have a writing phase, you have a designing phase, and you have a launching phase. So just like break it down into those four, and wherever you're at, just focus on that one. Forget about the whole big thing. Just say, I'm at this phase. I'm going to do this phase so I don't get overwhelmed, because all of us get overwhelmed if we try to figure the whole thing out. And you don't need to. So just focus on the phase you're at and forget about the rest for now.
I love it. Come on. I'm so excited. You guys are going to be learning so much on Saturday. This is going to be so cool. Put in the chat, everybody, how they can join the workshop so that people can, if they wanted to. We really want to see you there. This is going to really be a part of Jeremy's heart, my heart, Kevin and Don Milam, and Chris Tracy and Paul Young, to help you to follow your dream to write in any kind of creative expression that you want. This is part of our heart for
Sweet.
you. What, in closing, what three tips would you give to people who just want to start? What three tips?
Yeah, awesome question. I really appreciate this. I love the three steps. I think step number one, stop. So stop doing all the things around writing, like stop doing all the things around writing so that you can do step number two, which is start writing. Stop everything else, start writing, and then get around the right people. You're going to need to have some warriors who are in the same battle, who can pull you off the battlefield and fight for you, who can give you perspective. And you will have, as a writer, you're going to have the fog of war a lot of times. I have kept in publishing for 15, 16 years now, however long it is, because it's really at this point and kind of the times that we're in, I see this as almost like um, it's it's like my battle business. It's like our warring business. It's a war, I think. And we're in it to win it. And I know we're fighting from a winning team. You're going to have the fog of war. You're going to be there. So you got to have the right people around you who speak the same language, who have the same kind of interests as you, who bring different perspectives and aren't afraid to tell you to do something different, to help you identify what isn't working, and to help point out things that are significant for you and are really, really good that you're not bringing enough. You don't see the value like they'll see it.
So good. I love that. So
That's
guys,
it.
yeah, take these tips from Jeremy and start to grow we will see you this Saturday. Remember, it's fully recorded, so even if you had something going on, just go ahead and purchase that, and then the recordings will be sent within a couple weeks. But know that we do have prophetic brews, you do have Q&A, you do have a chance to get to know some of the Create Academy leaders and to know all of the people in person, because you can ask questions, etc. So we want to see you there. Jeremy, if you could just take a moment and just you've raised up so many writers. I'd love for you to impart to people that are listening right now.
Oh yeah, you bet. Um, yeah, Lord, I'm asking you. I know that I don't know how many people are listening to this right now, but I thank you for the technology that we have to be able to communicate like this. I thank you, Lord, that we have all the things we need. We can see and hear and walk and talk and move and breathe. I thank you for those assets, for our voices, for the ideas, for the brains that you've given us. And I'm asking you to give people the wisdom that they need right when they need it. And I'm asking you to give us the patience that we need to pursue you until we receive the right wisdom that we need right now. So I'm asking you to help everybody clear time out of their schedule for this, give them the wisdom they need, give them the right people at the right time, and make clear to them the book you want them to pursue right now, and give them dreams, give them visions, wake them up in the middle of the night, whatever you got to do, confirm it, triple confirm it, quadruple confirm it, so they absolutely know where you're leading them. I ask you to do this in Jesus Christ's name. Let it all be done. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, guys, this has been amazing. Share this with others. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining. Woo!
Thank you for having me. Can't wait for
Yeah.
Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. There's an email if you want to know more about what Jeremy does. Make sure that you follow that email in the chat so that you can get to know him personally and see how he can help you as well. So I will see you guys soon. Blessings, Jeremy.